up, all, and welcome to today's episode of Not Midnight Ranting, where we are talking Catholic Cardinals have indeed come back from their multiple rounds of black and white smoke to draft a new pope. So won't
not
you
just blowing
join?
smoke.
Just
We're
blowing
not just
smoke
blowing
up
smoke.
somewhere. There's been so many daytime, nighttime jokes about that one. I do like, we're just waiting pink or blue to find out what gender the new pope is, or there's been 1,000 of them. But it's okay. There's been one selected. They've went with Chicago deep dish. Won't you join Amy Newman and myself, James W., for a hopeful good time? Ooh. Woo! What is up, y'all? Welcome to today's episode of Not Midnight Ranting. We're just ranting, as we do indeed talk about the Cardinals drafting a new pope. I think it happened in the third round. I'm not sure what other teams got, but how are you doing, James? What are your initial
We're doing all right.
thoughts?
The new McPope, hey, Pope as Donald Trump says, it's a great honor. It's not him, but it's still an honor.
Yes, there was that. Thankfully, it was not him. It couldn't have been him. The first atheist pope had to not be an intellectual. What are we talking about?
I'm not so sure that he would be the first atheist pope.
He's not Christian.
I think. Well, I think probably if I were to guess, I'd probably say, well, no, that too, but probably at least a third of the Cardinals are probably really atheists. They probably really don't believe anymore. A lot of them probably do, or agnostics, like maybe they're not really sure, but they definitely don't know that there's a God. They're just going through the motions because they see utility in the church existing, or this is my job. This is what I went to school for. I can't just, what am I going to do? Quit the church and go work at Burger King?
Well, and no knock on theists, and I know the theists and creationists that come here will say, oh, you're just doing what you do. But the higher education level, there does seem to be a correlation with leaving religion or getting towards the more squishier, liberaler, secular version of religion. And so, what can I say? This Pope, I was gonna do the shout outs, but I guess there's so much
we can.
To criticize and not criticize about the Catholic Church. They do some good things, they do some bad things, they do some things that I'm pretty sure they should have sent some of theirs to jail instead of sending them around. What were we talking about? They at least are more closer to accepting science, or the vast majority of science. So, like, two very odd dichotomies.
They are kind of a strange beast, aren't they? They are kind of a...
Yes, and then believe in science. So please try to do both of those things. And that's unfortunately the strange thing of humans, is that you're going to find all these different denominations. Christianity is an odd beast. My favorite thing about the different denominations of Christians is they always like to say, they're not Christian, they're Catholic. And then the Catholics will say, well, they're not Christian, they're Protestants. And you're just like, real. Ooh. Yes.
Even though, like, lately the Catholic Church has gotten very more liberal about it. They don't really like to say that.
Well, can I tell you why, James?
Or only like the traditionalist ones stick to that.
There is a good reason behind that, and that is, and again, it's not my my specific area of study. And yet, from a layperson's point of view, it seems the older a religion gets, the more boring it becomes, the more secularized it becomes. This is why the Jews are the most secular. This is why the Catholics are second, and then Protestants, and then Muslims, and then the Amish. Do you understand? The newer and the newer that it becomes, they're more obsessed with it. Unfortunately, not always. There's always going to be.
Maybe it tends to follow that slope.
Yeah, because again, there's always going to be the fundamentalists. I'm sure there's Orthodox rabbis that would wake up and argue with me right now, but they're just not the majority. And the same is, I guess, young Earth Catholics. That would be a minority, thankfully. But among Protestants, then again, the Protestants came over here for freedom. They didn't like the hierarchical. I don't even understand. I don't understand why you need a pope. I don't understand why you need a prophet. I don't understand why you need all these middlemen for God. So, I mean, I could argue devil's advocate, both sides, all sides, Shia versus Sunni, but that's because we're atheists. And the answer is they're all wrong.
Sure. Well, they would say, well, you need a pope because in the New Testament, Jesus clearly establishes a church, one church. It's one thing, not divided into. So there's one church. There's got to be one head of a church, right? There's got to be an executive. Same thing with
prophets. There's always got to be someone. And every time I try and knock prophets in general, they're always like, well, what does prophet sometimes mean in some contexts? They always say teacher. Don't you believe teachers exist? As a teacher, yes, I do. I do not think that I, however, can resurrect from the dead, walk on water, or turn it into wine. I'd be open to that. I'd be great at dinner parties. But you know what I was thinking about? And I feel like we're not the only comedians to think about this.
What's that?
But Jesus was a carpenter. That means there had to have been a time where he was just working, and a customer had to have been like, could be softer, could have more arch support. Jesus just like, this fucking man. I'm just saying, it would be adorable to imagine him in his carpenter days. They skip the majority of his life. He's a baby, and then, we get adult Jesus.
Why give too many details about it? It would just make the story falsifiable. Really, they're not really essential. He went somewhere. He did some things. He played with some wood. He handled the wood very well. But now he's grown up. He's in his mid-20s. Man, now we're taking over. Yeah.
Yes. Much easier to go into that, because if we look into the logistics of a virgin giving birth, and he's a virgin, everyone's a virgin, James. They really do obsess over that a little bit too much.
Purity, virginity.
30 years.
He went to the temple as a child, and all the rabbis were like, "We quit. We're running out of here. He knows way more than us. Fuck it. I quit. I'm gonna do something else."
Must be an easy baby to raise if he's perfect. No crying.
Very vague philosophical quirks that the New Testament comes up with. The Christians think are so incredibly clever. I mean, they're interesting. They're not like mind blowing.
And but I mean, I guess we are talking popes. The Cardinals have indeed drafted. As much as we can talk about Jesus, every time I do jokes about Jesus, they never land. People like making fun of rabbis and Muslims blowing up things, though. But it's so hard to make fun of Jesus. I don't think anyone was perfect. I really stand against that, though. Like, I get if he existed, James he's a mythicist. I could go either way. Like my sexuality, because the interesting points are that, first of all, that perfect claim. No one's perfect. And especially not that God. Oh my goodness. That go into some of the Old Testament things. But yeah, miracles don't happen. And all right, that's the end of my religion.
But this is a church that used to talk about miracles. They claim that there's a miracle every Sunday, that the priest magically turns the wafer into body of Jesus.
The body of Christ.
The parishioners
oh
eat
my
it.
Goodness. Can we just talk about that? Okay. More signs of being cult-like. And I get it. Listen, we could say that about many of the different denominations. Just now's the time we're focusing on the Catholics. It's creepy.
Which part of his body is it?
And see, that's the thing, James. They, I assume, turn it into the opposite. This is what always happens, I find, in religion. Everything that we find disgusting, they go, oh, isn't that just beautiful? Because I view the sacrifice, not to keep on harping on that same guy, but I view the sacrifice of Jesus as brutal and bloody and disgusting and
pointless,
unneeded, pointless. Exactly. That is the other thing, is that this God is making up the rules. And what happens is that Christians reinterpret it and they go, oh my goodness. And that's why they put a cross. That's why they wear that. Because they have been so normalized, naturalized. I have not been the first one to make this observation by a long shot. Jesus would not want to see a cross. All right? PTSD. For sure. He saw you all wearing that around his neck. I feel like I would have said you missed the point. Anyway, my big thing is I don't think Jesus thought that he was a god. That's my outside of the box thing, but I think that's backed up.
It's not clear that he did, at least initially.
I think it makes sense to not only be buried in a mass grave. I think that the not finding a body, their interpretation of that is just so silly. Exactly. I don't understand how not finding a body is used as evidence as he came back from life.
Oh, like, he must have came back.
Couldn't many people use that as evidence, not just Jesus? Couldn't, like, we go to people who have lost children and just go up to them kind of in a, I guess, rude manner and be like, well, you never found your kid. Maybe he's the son or daughter of God. I mean, I think that'd kind of be a dick thing to
Where's the tomb of Alexander the Great? Do we know? Do we have his body? Maybe he rose too.
Maybe they burned it. Maybe
somebody else stole it over the centuries between.
Even worse, no one planted a grave and they just threw him aside. All of these, I think, are more investigatable. Is that a word? And then coming back to life. I think the resurrection is the least likely. If we were to go Occam's razor, that would need the highest amount of evidence to get over that hill. Am I crazy, James? I feel like
no. It's one of those like things that they view as like this amazing, like it's like boom, suck it, atheist, no empty tomb. But it really only counts as strong evidence among themselves.
I feel like that worked on me for half a conversation. The first time I heard it, I was like, oh. And then there was a good few seconds where I went, oh, wait.
Did you know that he was seen after his resurrection by over 500 people? These people just watched him die days before. I mean, they saw him on that cross. They saw that spear pierce his side, and then they see him walking around.
Can I give you Bert Ehrman's explanation for why he thinks that the resurrection is so important to early Christians? His explanation and why this all got started and why people had to bank on it was because he did not fulfill Messiah prophecy. And because he didn't fulfill Messiah prophecy, which, if I remind everyone reading the Torah and really the history of their temple getting burned down and the Jews getting conquered about 18,000 times was to reconquer Jerusalem. Now, my joke is the UK actually in 1948 after World War II should be the Jewish prophet. It'd make it a little weird and make the conspiracy theorists probably be like, I knew it. But they're the ones who created Israel and gave them Jerusalem. Thus, anticlimactic. Nonetheless, it wasn't Jesus. And so you needed a very specific action. You needed something, dare I say, a miracle to really change everyone's mind. And this miracle became the resurrection. And when there was a resurrection, all of the old prophecy like that dropped, and it became, don't you see a man has come back from the dead to lead us? And the narrative thus went forward.
Well, yeah, if he's dead, he can't continue to fulfill them. But if he's still alive and in heaven, well, okay, well, those prophecies that he hasn't fulfilled, he's going to fulfill them when he comes back. So he will fulfill all those, the ones he hasn't done yet. So just you wait. Yeah, but by the time you see him fulfill them, it'll be too late because you didn't believe in him before he fulfilled them all.
Well, they love making claims like that where you have to be dead in order for the bet to actually be fulfilled. It's a great... Again, I'd love to take that to Atlantic City or to Vegas. Sending so much love. The sinister porpoise reminding us that many Egyptian toms are also empty.
Yeah, goth. That's
also just send
do your
so
dance for sinister.
Love. Yeah. Yes, I am. Woo! But yes, there are many Egyptian tombs. Many Egyptian tombs are empty, and I don't really understand how that is supposed to be a good explanation for someone coming back from the dead.
It's only among them because they're not going to critically think about it. They're just going to accept it at face value and, put it on a shirt like, ooh, empty tomb equals Jesus is God.
Just like Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin makes me cry even more because it's I don't know why I have to put... I'm so tempted to put legitimate. I want to say legitimate fraud, but it's a fraud. The Shroud of Turin was created.
No. Of course not.
Oh.
Didn't you know that Jesus, the real Jesus, I don't know how all these middle-aged artists got it right, but he looked exactly the way they pictured him in medieval Europe. He looked just like that.
He's blonde-haired, blue-eyed, I'm pretty sure. Right? And buff. Very specifically buff. And a virgin somehow.
But with a 12-inch penis.
With a 12-inch penis that he's never used. That's what also gets me. Again, married virgin. Okay? Mary was married. They give all this shit for Aisha, which they should. You shouldn't be marrying 9-year-olds. That's one grade above. You shouldn't be marrying third graders. PSA. For those who need it out there. Nonetheless, for the gods who need it out there, you shouldn't be marrying 12-year-olds. And they pull the same shtick. The Christians all of a sudden become just like the Muslims. And they're like, well, there's some scholars. There's like one among the 30 or 40 that may think that she was 15. And you go, wow, Alabama. I hadn't known you came back so strong to argue for God.
I mean, that was kind of the norm back then. You could do that with any human. They all did things in the past that were wonky to us today.
I'm just saying, 12-year-old virgin, God could have chose anyone.
9 was young, even by standards of that day. That was a little cringe, even at the time.
That is pretty cringe. The Quran talks about her owning dolls. Again,
child's toys.
However, I will give the Quran one benefit. It didn't say how many dolls, and so maybe it was $2, maybe it was $5, maybe it was $30. I'm not. I'm just teasing everyone out there. What were we talking about? Egyptian tombs. Thank you so much, Sinister Porpoise, and sending so much love to everyone out there. We forgot to do our early shout outs. We should probably do some love.
Yeah, we can do that.
Don't forget, you can hit that like, follow, and subscribe button. I said it, YouTube. They can all go free now. And then we will. And then it allows you to hit that all button to see premieres or join our live streams. My brain is working. The cogs are going. Because then I can say, what's up, Sinister Porpoise? What's up, Ian Davenport? What's up, Goth? What's up, Spooky? What is up, davegar? What is up, everyone? And Moon Shoes and Fenton and everybody. Sending so much love. We are not Midnight Ranting. We're just ranting on Cardinals draft new pope. In a second, I'm just going to open it up because these are supposed to be open mics. But if no one decides to
join, they will be.
And they will be. Then James and I will just keep on ranting on why religion is silly and there is no God. Sending so much love.
The Catholic Church, it's an interesting organization at that. They have done lots of harm over the years. They've done some good. But as an organization, its primary concern is self-preservation, and that by evolutionary standards, biological as well as non, that's what you have to do. It's reinvented itself. It's evolved over time, and the thing is, that's not what you get from something that stands for actual, absolute, objective truth. The objective truth will stand unwavering. Will not
here's the
reinvent
problem.
Itself and change and evolve.
Here's the problem that I have, which is reform versus apostasy. And, I truly wish that religion would not exist. I get told by theists, they say, good luck, never going to happen. And I go, and there's a piece of me that goes 50-50. I don't know. Maybe there is something in our brain that is just so wired to. And can I tell you what's annoying, James? I'm going to rant about a tangent. I was talking to Rachel about this.
Do it.
And, I have to bring consciousness up at least once a podcast, just like I have to bring up Bill Burr, many other subjects, LGBTQ. Am I doing good, Soros? But consciousness is amazing. It is what separates us from a vast variety of other life forms on Earth, the vast majority, of life forms on Earth. And yet, it is this appreciation for not understanding the flip side of that is that consciousness is also so mundane, and it has such this regular mechanism for functioning that I think that we begin to worship it. We begin to say it's so amazing. It has to be a foundational element to the universe.
Fundamental.
It has to be this supernatural consciousness that is watching us. And all of this baggage comes from us, unfortunately, I think, worshiping consciousness in a way that is inappropriate. I'm trying to think of the right language to use here, because it is, and I'll continue to say, life and consciousness, and then I would layer sentience on top of it, is some of the greatest chemical reactions on Earth. I mean, so too is a supernova. So too is, Uranus. But so too is consciousness. But understanding it for the other quality. This is my last point of it. I think is what makes it special. This strange dichotomy, James, that it is so special because of how mundane. We wake up and it's what we do every day. We're conscious and we just go about and we don't think about it and it's not special to us. We just get coffee and go about our day. And yet it's also this amazing thing that separates us from fungi and bacteria.
Well, it's also why we're so willing to accept and to institutionalize concept of like life after death. Like we can't imagine going forward a time where we're not conscious, where we not just for a night or whatever, but where we're never conscious again. We cease to be.
Yeah.
And that's something we're never accustomed to. We've never, even though we know there was a time before we were conscious, we have a difficult time imagining a time after that too.
Yes, because it's all we know. So it's hard to imagine us not being at the party. But I still enjoy the party while we're rocking. And all right, that's my end of my tangent right now on consciousness. Though it's tied to a god. I really think it is, because it's part of it. Religion really has a heavy focus on consciousness in a non-scientific way. And I think I always say, and I'll continue to say, when you hear people speaking about consciousness, including me, your woo-woo meter should go up. It should go up a few clicks, and you should be like, is this person trying to sell me snake oil? Because I find that in my own experience, okay? People use consciousness as a fancy way of attacking because they say you don't even understand what it's doing. Well, a lot of neurologists do understand some things that are going on. We can make accurate predictions of people about to make, pressing buttons and things like that. We do know that consciousness is located in the brain, that these neurons have 10 times the amount of power going on, which sounds amazing to us, but it sounds taxing to a body. I imagine that is a cost-heavy analysis. Yes, and so our consciousness really has a lot of function to go out, get us food, get rid of the food, sometimes mate, and then if we also want to do karaoke, all right, we can do that in between. But
Please do fine without it.
Yes, and sending so much love, DJ. That's right. We are not midnight ranting. We're just ranting right now. But I will also, not only, another thing I thought about, and I can't help it. I know we're pope-mobiling right now. We're talking about consciousness. That's my fault. But plants not only do just fine without consciousness, but they are totally more foundational in the biological chain. It's not the universe. Let's just talk about the chain of biology, the ecosystem. Just meat eaters will joke, that's the food the food eats. And you should take note of that, because if you eat that food and you need that food for the food you eat, you see how if that dies, the food you eat dies. Do we see the chain of command here? And so it takes life to have life, and plants are just great at just going out there, fortifying themselves, and making food. I wish we could do that. That would be fantastic. If we were all green and just walking around or standing still, we could just boom, boom, boom. As you have to compete. There's still competition. It's not a free house. It's just a different type. Yeah. Afterlives are, unfortunately, one of the reasons that people do very stupid things in religion. It gave us things like 9/11. People are always like, but it tells my grandma that she's going to see her puppy again. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I don't want to be the person that goes to the line in Santa Claus and tells the kids they're not real. But when we're having serious discussions about this, yes, it can cause a lot of serious problems.
They're like, well, you can't falsify it, so just let people believe what they want.
Yeah. I wish that were true, but one superstition belief can lead into others. But if people disagree with us, they're also going to be allowed to join soon, because we're going to go into the open mic in a second. Let me.
The Catholic Church is like, but it's rebranded itself before. Now it's this science accepting, weirdly conservative, quasi-conservative, quasi-liberal branch of Christianity with
they don't have
factions.
any female cardinals,
right? And even they'll say even the more liberal Pope Francis says, like, look, it's not up to us. We didn't make the religion. It's what God said. We don't have the authority to change that. If you want to change, if you want that, make up your own religion where you can have that. But that's not what's going on. They're co-opting.
Well, here's the thing with that,
turning it into a secular thing, which is probably good, but we could just do away with the religion. We don't really need it.
Yes, we can go, because that's the thing. The choice between reform or apostasy. I don't know if the other side is that it's just we want them to leave the religion, but I will take a pope that's more liberal. I am celebrating weirdly. Not that he's the American thing is like what I don't have that flavor of national pride in me. I have patriotism, but it's for other values. I love that we're a country where we're a mixing, melting pot. But I like that he's liberal, because that means that the reform will continue, and that is if I can't get apostasy. If you can't get the free, I'll take the 15% off, James. I'll take whatever I can get.
Well,
please give me the better.
But you're keeping the other thing alive, though. That is the risk.
Well, here's the thing. Exactly.
You're keeping it alive by allowing it to evolve.
But here's what I'll say. I'll say the same for every other religion. I need Islam to reform. All right. The vast majority of Muslims that I talk to are just like the Protestant Christians. None of them believe in evolution. The Big Bang is just they really go, oh, I don't even really want to talk about that. They just use it so they can accept Kalam and all these other things. They're like, but you believe it. You're like, yeah, but I want you to believe it. Jesus, more important than sometimes the God debate is getting these creationists to accept science. Now, it's hard because foundationally they don't accept science because of the religion.
But getting them to just say, okay, well, I'll concede on the testable claims. Okay, every testable claim Islam makes is false. We'll reinterpret that, but the untestable claims, things science can't touch, I'm still going to believe those. Yes. And you can't attack those then, because then they're unfalsifiable.
But I need a reformed Sunni Islam. Sunni being the largest faction. Shias in Iran are very fundamentalist. Shias everywhere else tend to be more liberal because they're minorities, which is the trend everywhere. When you're a minority, you tend to wake up to the fact that maybe you should be nice to other minorities. Sunnis need to have reformed versions in the majority Sunni countries. And that is the only way that we're probably going to get them to accept the backbone of modern biology. That is the only way we're going to get them to accept. A lot of them don't accept vaccines, all this other stuff. And you get this from the crazy religious on the Christian side as well. So, it's equal criticism to go around. And apparently, you know, I can criticize Hindus, James. That was a fun debate. Please check that out on. I should upload it. Go check out the lovely Tacos channel, Breakfast Chaco, who does presuppositional atheist apologetics, counter apologetics.
I guess the goal is to get everybody to atheism or at least agnosticism, not necessarily to preserve religion in a weaker form, but if that's part of the process, it may be.
I feel like our goal, specifically that Soros has on a poster above where we sleep at night, says that we're trying to get people to the deist line and then hopefully over it. The more fundamentalist, the worse, in my opinion, because the more they reject science. I'm sure there's some I can't even wrap my head around it. I'm sure there is somewhere that's a fundamentalist that accepts science, but then you wouldn't be a fundamental. Then again, I guess you could be, because they made those numbers up. They just did some counting their own, and it's not like it says those. It doesn't say 6,000 to 10,000 in the Bible. That really is fan fiction. But yes,
it is a logical extrapolation. If the book is absolutely true, then you could take data from it and apply it to reality.
What it's like, all right? It's like a Star Wars fan counting up the years of something and then saying this is applied. If George Lucas can come in at any time and say, well, he's fucking wrong, I don't care what he says, boom. And then it literally is whatever George Lucas says. Right. But yes, technically the fan can go do what they want. But you could be a fundy, I guess, is what I'm saying, and I guess believe science. Stranger things have happened. They generally don't, though. The 6,000 to 10,000 thing is weird. It's flat Earth weird. It should be shunned in America, and the only reason that it's not is because the 40% of our country believes it.
We had someone who considered them. Used to come on the channel a lot, considered themselves theists, but we had a discussion one time, and Pat was on, and this person, kind person overall, and they're like, well, I'm going to raise my kids in theism, different liberal, but I'm going to make them the most liberal, the most loving, secular version of it. There'll be no hate, and like, you could do that, but there is that risk that they could get turned to the dark side, because you're opening up Pandora's box when you open up these religious traditions. Like, yeah, they're true, but there's a chance, well, maybe they take a slightly darker version of that. Maybe they don't become this peace-loving hippie. You know, maybe they get co-opted, and that can happen. If we kill the beast, we don't need to worry about that. We can just stamp it out. Get rid of all this superstitious thinking. Get rid of, although maybe that's overly idealistic. Maybe that's not possible. I don't know, but I guess that would be the ideal, not to have to play soccer with these theists for another 1,000 years, where we just slowly bleed them out until they die. There's really no basis for their beliefs other than the fact that we can't absolutely falsify them. But argumentatively, they really don't have a leg to stand on.
Nope. Don't really need to exist. But the institutions continue to fight because of tradition. Continuing downwards, just sending love. And then I'll hand it over to you, James, and then we'll open up. Yeah. But sending love to all of our sponsors of the show. Many ways to keep the channel going. You can join our channel membership down below with our evolving badge system. Evolution triggers creationists, and it triggers us that we have citizens in insert year, because it really could be any year at this point. You should believe in evolution. It's been known. Darwin came out when they were still trying to discover the quote-unquote new world. I think you're good at this point. So, yes.
Well, don't you know, Amy, It's a cataclysm in science. The scientists are scrambling to come up with a way to save evolution. All the universities, the House of Cards is coming down. It's not working.
Well, my favorite,
it's failing.
James, when you want to criticize something, you just need to put either neo in front of it or add ist at the end. So it's just, we don't, neo-Darwinism is falling apart, and all these Darwinists just don't seem to have it together anymore. And you go, what did you just say? And as someone comes along and they go, oh yeah, they don't like biologists. And you go, oh, okay. Yes, because again, things evolve. The only reason we make vaccines, again, things that exist and work, is because of evolution. Things evolve. We must adjust to them. Oh, my kitty's playing with the straw. Sending so much love to all of our sponsors, as well as our Patreons at patreon.com/amynewman, as well as those like Azo reminding us we have a skeptic and ranting community. Come one, come all, just not on my sheets. Just more wash for the femboy to do. Sending so much love.
How many tutus can you fit in your dryer at a time? I mean,
just enough. The amount of petticoats and tutus and things that have frills where they probably shouldn't. What are we talking about? Sending so much love to Kristen Seifel, reminding us we have theists in the skeptic and ranting community. Can I tell you, James, this is another fact I wanted to bring up. This Pope has a bachelor's in mathematics and I believe a master's in physics.
Mm-hmm. He is he is science-minded. I think he picked his moniker Leo. The last Pope Leo, I believe, was the one who opened up the Vatican Observatory in the late 1800s, who started that.
Oh,
so he is like tipping his hat towards the scientific side of it, which is good.
I also think politically he chose not to speak English. I think he chose to speak Italian, Latin. No, he spoke not Italian. He spoke Latin, Spanish, and Peruvian. He spoke Latin because he is going to be the Pope. He spoke Spanish, I think, to open up. I think he has a little bit of Spanish background as well. But to open up,
he lived in Peru for
and he lived
decades.
in Peru.
Yeah.
But it was fun just for a moment to see all of the insert. Was it, were they called the Polar Bear? Wait, they're called the Dog Channel. No, what is that other channel? They're a carnivora. I'm trying to think of. Baby Seal Channel? The Fox. It was fun watching Fox. Oh, the aardvarks, yes.
Anteater.
The anteaters. Oh, my goodness. James, they run government right now. 23 of them. 23 of them. I'm not freaking out. Everything's fine. I wish I had like a thing around me that just looked like everything was burning down. Everything's fine.
Well, that's the world that we live in. Here's the thing: like we go out and in the world, and you go to 7-Eleven or you go to Walmart. And
7-Eleven was a part-time job.
Yeah. These menial workers, these people who live in a constant state of struggle, we don't just demand that they do their jobs. We demand they do it cheerfully. They are happy. They better be happy at their job. Or they better smile and kiss our ass and be happy about it. It's not enough just to do the job. You have to do it enthusiastically. That way it creates this delusion that this is a cheerful, happy, wonderful world. Everything is fine. Everything is good. Don't worry about it.
They took away my pension. I no longer have health care, but there is a sale on Twinkies.
I mean, it's not just that the slave master, your owner, makes you get up at 5 and work 14-hour days, you have to like it. You have to tell him he is just the best owner, and you will never want to be owned by anybody else. Freedom sucks. You love him. You better do that, or you'll work 20 hours the next day.
Well, you're never going to find someone. I'm 3. I was 3 steps. I think I'm 2 or 1 steps away from lifting revolution flags right now, James. So you're not going to find a disagreement. And I know that world. Oh my God. I worked in that world for way too long. And it is, they treat you like,
you're expendable.
You are expendable. They know at a certain point, they're like, listen, you need this more. We could just hire, Bill Frobrank off the ground. So you're going to do the slave labor that we just promised you, or not? And you go, I guess I'm going to staple these new coupons to the sides of price tags now. I could do whole bits on, I don't even want to say their name for fear of all these corporations coming after me. Sponsored by Nabisco. They really are. Applebee's, I know, sponsored by Applebee's. All these companies also declaring 11 bankruptcy. I will say to everyone out there, just because someone says they are declaring bankruptcy doesn't mean they're all going away. I'm going to cough. Excuse me.
Bankruptcy, it's a financial tool.
Yes.
Doesn't necessarily mean they're going away.
It's actually a warning sign. It's basically their last dying grasp. It's a breath. It is them saying that we are reshuffling, getting rid of a bunch of debt because there's this financial loophole that allows us to do so. And hopefully, whichever CEO we're now about to put in is able to rebrand us and get us more money, or we are going to go under and you're going to see none of us. This is true for Red Lobster, who apparently is doing a little bit better. But I mean, what didn't take a brain surgeon to realize that if you are giving the main encore away endlessly, that it's not going to be profitable.
I mean,
breadsticks, people.
What is Joann's Fabrics? Now they're going under now.
Fabrics,
of course,
Reid.
Why not? And I mean, these conservative economists, they're always saying the free market, the free market, the free market. Well, I mean, the private equities figured out that the free market allows them to take over a corporation, force the corporation to take on the debt that they use to buy it, and they can extract wealth from the company for free, and then
sounds like a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, so like we'll buy it for $800 million as soon as they take it over. They go to the banks. Yeah, we need a $800 million loan on the company's balance sheet, not on our on the company itself's balance sheet.
Of course. And
then everybody in the company has to work their asses off to pay off that loan for the profit of the investors. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. The company goes under. Hey,
womp womp.
And the law allows them to do that. Why would they not? You'd be stupid not to do it that way. You're just an idiot because you actually run a company the right way. It's much more efficient
legally
to legally take it over, loot it, and let it burn. We make more money. The Mitt Romney style capitalism. That's what Bain Capital. That's what those they do that kind of things. They destroy and burn and loot to enrich themselves boldly.
There's one other orange politician I'd add there, but it could be any orange politician though. You don't know which one I'm talking about. He's not even a politician. I don't want to get into it. Let's talk about sending so much. Billionaires aren't your friends. PSA. Dale Pastel.
On either side.
No, on either side. They're all cowards. Every one of them. There's very few. I'm trying to think. Even Mark Cuban isn't doing as many interviews as I wish he was. He was kind of one that didn't. You see who people are when they have money. Bill Gates has been a coward. He's had this fucking. I love you, YouTube algorithm. He's been going on this tour where he's been going, oh, I gladly declare that they're doing some things that I think about. And you go, oh, man, you're thinking about them? Do you have a position on them? I do. I take a strong position on something. And you go, the whole every comment section I've ever looked at, it always says, did he say anything at all? They say, no, he didn't say a goddamn thing, because they're all cowards. Target, cowards. All these billion-dollar corporations.
People all thought that this was over, that they won.
I was very comfortable.
They're just going to have to accept LGBT. All the corporate America's on board. They're fine with it. It's part of corporate culture now.
All corporate America, majority of corporate America is on board. The problem is the Siths have taken control. The problem, I didn't want them to do fucking tuck bathroom, bathing suits that can tuck. I can find a selection of bathing suits that have skirts or whatever that block what's ever going on. What I needed them to have was a backbone. Paging, I need someone, aisle 7 for spines. Couldn't be found. Sold out. Whew. I'm sorry.
Of course, my response is like, you don't want us to be able to tuck. I mean, okay. You just got to see it. It's just going to be right there. And, of course, then they won't be able to take their eyes off of it.
I know, exactly. If I looked on their browser history, I'd probably find a much wider selection.
No, I don't want you to tuck it. Just leave it out.
I know. Everything triggers them. The fact I still don't get the Bud. Two things about the Bud Light thing. And I know we're going off into tangent space, but we're ranting. What can I say? Is that the original thing they were mad about was that there was a sponsor. She had a can with her face on it. Oh, they made 20,000, 20,000 cans, forcing all Bud Light viewers to stare at a tranny. Well, no, actually, they just gave her a single can so she could show it on a single podcast and market for more people to buy beer. Oh, well, that can't be that bad. Oh, but you don't understand. There was a marketing, not executive, there was a marketing person that went on a podcast and are you telling me she went on a million viewer? Did they have 2 million viewers? And she started ranting about how bad rural people are? Well, no, and not to knock. This will feel like a knock. She went on someone that had a subscriber base of 500,000? No, 500. Again, we only have 1,000 something, 1,700. If they went on 1,700, that still wouldn't be okay.
1/3 our size.
1/3 our size, and she said we're trying to open up the base farther than just frats and stuff like that. Sports and stuff like that. And they went, oh, you hate us? You're telling us you hate us? No, a woman went on to the whatever woman's podcast and said we're trying to open it up to women. She did what she was supposed to do in a void of something that she thought no one was ever going to see. And then these two things created the Bud Light boycott. And I want to say thank you to all of them for giving us the precedent, because I feel like we've taken that roadmap and applied it to Tesla. I don't know. Tesla stock, I feel like, is floating right now. There's the Wile E. Coyote thing, because no liberal is going to buy that car. I love you all out there. If you bought a Tesla, I'm not going to. That's the other thing. They say, oh, you're going to go burn a Tesla. You're going to go key a Tesla. No, I actually kind of sympathetic. most of them were liberals that were like, I'm doing the right thing. And then they tuned out of politics for like years and years and years. And then the CEO of the company that they probably hardly pay attention to threw up a Nazi symbol. And it is a Nazi symbol. I continue to say, because they did all of these things, but it's crucial, James. It's crucial in the holding this, because when you hold this and you go like this, there's not many. I'm just saying. I dare anyone to do exactly what Elon did. And some people are always like, oh, he's going like this. He's going like that. No. Two of the Vista, and then going up on there. And then Vista, turn around, and going up on there. I can do, look, here's hand of my heart. Here's me giving love out. Don't give me this friggin' he's on the spectrum thing either. I work with them all day. Not even. They wouldn't accidentally. Don't give me that stuff. Okay. Good luck. 70% profit loss. La, 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 la. I'm sending so much love. Billionaires aren't our friends. But just like James says, on either side, really on either side, they virtue signal. That the conservatives like to use that word. But that's what these liberals were doing.
They've made the Democrat Party not really a weak, feckless party.
There's a few outliers. Costco, profit going up. They didn't drop DEI. Apparently, they had a heavy stock of backbones. Sending love to Dale Pastel. Did we say we're looking for empirical evidence? Davegar, we're looking for a round Earth that is 4.5 billion years old. Rachel Holen reminding us that you shouldn't be taking slaves from the nations around you. You should just go to a BDSM club. Probably much easier. And then our two sending love to the captains. Yes, you can buy them at Costco. Online and Amazon. Another coward. Coward. Can't put the tariff prices on there. Don't want to side with the people. Who cares if he's angry at you? I hate talking politics because it dates the episode. If we still have elections in history in the future. Sending so much love to Rejos, reminding us we have a skeptic Bible study. We should do that this week, James. Upcoming week.
I mean, that was like what they say, like, oh, well, then in California, they're going to put this would have been your price, but with the minimum wage increase, now it's this. You know, it's trying to insert politics into things like with the tariff price.
But he did this by himself. This is his. He also said this would make us richer. If it's making us richer, he can show maybe the ticker will go negative. It's a bad plan.
It's a complicated.
It will cause people more. Not only that, but it's a tax. He is even the only person to convince conservatives that you should be putting a middle class tax because it is the people that pay it. It is not the. It's not the CCP is not paying the tax. It is the Chinese corporations going to be passing it on to the American consumers.
You know, what a man, though, like Donald Trump, to be able to get the Democrat Party to embrace free trade, which had been a very controversial take in the Democrat Party. You know, you remember when in '93 when Bill Clinton passed NAFTA, he did that with majority Republican support. Most of the Democrats voted against NAFTA. Bill Clinton did that with the Republican Party.
I don't think he's getting them to do anything. I think that his numbers don't make sense. They're not reciprocal. They just come out of nowhere. They think that the AI was being used to create a lot of these numbers. He put some numbers on islands that don't have people. He said there were 200 deals. There aren't 200 countries. Just
free trade.
Free trade. And they say they're not. They'll also say they're not for free trade. They'll say their line is they're not for. Trump will say he's not for free trade.
No, he's not. Tariffs
for
is the opposite
fair
of free
trade. Yes,
Yeah.
but he's not for fair trade. He's just making these numbers up as he goes along. It's not.
I mean, I guess a fair trade would be something that keeps us in balance, but now we're roughly our trade deficit roughly in balance, but we're told no, we need to be in a deficit because I guess we need to be. I don't know.
I just don't think we need to be slapping tariffs on every single country on Earth.
I mean, it's kind of like how you say he didn't want to speak English because that's overtly Americanizing it, and that's one of the reasons there hasn't been an American Pope. The wide feeling that America has too much power already. We don't,
Oh, we're definitely losing power.
Right. We have too much power already, but it's kind of the idea is like, well, we kind of have to take it on the chin a little bit with these agreements. We can't expect these other countries. They're developing. We're already there. We have to kind of take a little bit of a worse deal on our end to help them out.
And
then that's the feeling that it's been. And so now
he's just
maybe we don't. Maybe we don't take a bad. Maybe we take a deal that advantages us primarily
and disadvantages the poor country.
Yeah, maybe they're looking for a bit of.
First of all, that's not the way it actually worked. It was random, but that just sounds cruel. It seems like you would want to give money to the developing country,
right?
Because we're such a rich country.
I understand. I'm just saying.
And we also we put both high. If they're doing not a lot of trade, we put very high tariffs on them. And if they're doing a lot of trade with us, we put very high tariffs on them. Their numbers are random. They don't make sense. He used the word reciprocal over and over. They're not reciprocal.
I don't know the numbers for each country or where they come from. I'm just talking in generalities, the concept of free trade. It never really gave us what we were promised.
But so is this. This will get us, he will cave on each and everything because he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to make good business deals. And that's why he came out this other day and said there's a concept of a plan with the UK. And you go, oh, great. We have a concept of, a concept of a trade deal with one country. Not a trade deal. We'll get to there eventually because you ask what's in the trade deal. Well, they haven't made a trade deal, but you haven't made a single deal. I don't know.
Is it going to work? Will it result in much better conditions? I don't know. Maybe not. It may not improve anything.
I would say almost the point of this is to make our position in the world weaker, to make sure that we get less effective prices, because I don't understand how. The analogy that someone used is it's like punching yourself in the face and saying this is going to make ourselves feel better later. Like, I don't understand how putting taxes on American middle class, because again, it's not putting it on the government, it's putting it on the private industries of the said company, to which the American consumers then pay the price. So the CCP can go,
put
whatever number you want. Why would it affect us? We're only like 6% of the GDP.
Is to bring manufacturing jobs. Well, you think it will do that or not? That's the intent, right?
Yes. Well, no, it doesn't matter if it does that or not, because if it brings them over here, very specifically, it won't make American jobs. It will create robotic jobs that will just cause us to have our products now be more expensive and us not to get jobs.
Because the other side, they make the very same argument. Like they say, minimum wage, it's just a tax on the consumer. The price is just going to be passed on. And so don't raise the minimum wage because everyone else is just paying for it. We should all be making $5 an hour. Everything will be cheaper. And inflation will just erase the increases anyway. So it's pointless. Just let the free market determine wages and everything will be fine. And We know
But
that
is
even though
separate, that's a separate thing, because it's saying that also if you pay people a higher minimum wage, you are now making citizenry who is the ability to buy more, helping stimulate the economy. I don't understand who wins with this tax.
Well, no, because there's an inflation, so it'll erase the gains they make anyway. Prices will just go up because they have more money.
It depends on. I mean, if it goes up
it's
5 or 10%, but you're making double, I think that actually covers it.
No, it actually does. It makes sense. It's not a full benefit, but raising the minimum wage does help people, even though the opposing side of that, the people who just wants everybody to make $5 an hour, doesn't like it, so they try to, it'll just be passed on to everybody else, and inflation. The idea behind trade policy is to get jobs coming back, even if there is some temporary pain in the economy. There's some temporary,
but those jobs
it's a long game.
There is no.
Yeah, they're not coming back.
They're not coming back.
Yeah, okay.
I just think that we had a healthy economy.
The party's over. Say that. Party's over. We're not. Those aren't coming back.
What parties are? Well, I will see.
The party of a strong middle class is over. We need to transition to, where we're not,
We do. We need to support workers. The liberals will only win if they support workers. It's not. I know I will continue to say they have to go woke. The problem is that a good portion of our current population thinks that woke means whiny liberals who care about pronouns. You should care about pronouns because it's part of a decent human being. Just if someone decides to tell you their pronoun, you shouldn't care about it. You shouldn't wake up every day and go pronoun, pronoun, pronoun. But if someone comes to you,
that's what it was being felt.
That's like what they imagined
with pronoun stuff.
That
even though it wasn't.
It wasn't. Just because someone puts it in your profile, it's now, and you're not even allowed to have it in government. It's literally that's how big of snowflakes they are. Government issued. You're not allowed to have your pronouns in your email address. Because they wake up and obsess about it every day. That is the difference. But really, they're just trying to take away Social Security and pensions. So liberals should focus on the actual liberal issues, and you'll win. Why Bernie Sanders is the highest rated politician in the United States right now.
And his own party sabotaged him from getting the nomination. Because they don't want to really make any real changes either.
I think that if he wanted to, he could run again.
He could.
AOC or David Hogg.
But
I would too. He's still as cognizant as any of these other people right now. He could change any year, but sending love also to finally Ian Davenport. I know we've been talking politics. Send so much love. I do, James, but see, I want it to be boring again. It shouldn't be this exciting. Really shouldn't. Like this is TMZ level government. And it shouldn't be that exciting. He shouldn't. He says one of his number one selection for being, like, they rag on DEI and they say they want merit, but one of his primary methods for figuring out if you should be on his admin is do you look casting ready, which is another way of saying, are you pretty or attractive? He wants a very specific look.
Look at his press secretaries. They're info babe level, like from Fox News.
Yes. And 23. They said they hated legacy media, and then they hired 23 Fox News hosts. And again, I'm sure some of them are very fine people, but some of them are clowns. RFK Jr. has no medical experience. I get it. He's like an independent kind of thing vibe, but he's a conspiracy theorist with no medical expertise, except for the fact that he has been ranting as a conspiracy theorist. That's the only thing that makes him a medical advocate, is that he has been a conspiracy, and he's had to backtrack most of it. My favorite is still him with a picture of McDonald's next to Trump, because he said it was like he said McDonald's was like eating poison, and I swear Trump made him fucking take a picture of them eating McDonald's together for that reason. But they're all
like Florida, I believe, is about to ban fluoride in the water, and that is going to be a huge boon for the dentists in the state. They are going to be making bang.
Yes,
the dentists are going to be having people lined out the door with cavities to fill.
2 industries are about to boom in popularity, and that's dentists and meth dealers.
Yeah,
I just want to send love to all of the brand fantastic new smiles coming to Florida.
The thing gonna be, yeah, Dennis, move to Florida. Your business will be booming.
But this is what he does. He puts the opposite people in charge. This is what I hate. And some of them, Marco Rubio, who has been neutered, is like one of the few normal people, and yet he has to argue with the fucking crazy conspiracy theorists. And good times. Well, we have a
Marco Rubio. He's a reasonable guy.
Yes. Well, he always has 1 or 2 reasonable people in his admin, followed by about 20,000 sycophants. Stephen Miller looks like he devours the souls of children at night, and I am fairly sure that. Oh. Yes, I have good evidence for that in a van, a windowless van somewhere. But he pushes all the Project 2025 shit because he's a fundamentalist nationalist, crazy woo woo, and so all these fun people, just like Puppy Killer, is in charge of our national security, and
Puppy.
Yeah, Christy Gnome. Yeah, she shot a puppy.
Oh.
She said was being a little bit too scruffy.
I hadn't heard about that.
Really? Yes.
Not a puppy.
She took a puppy. She took among a variety of other animals, but the one that stood out to the public, I guess, is that she did take a puppy to a gravel pit and shoot it. And she said that's what you got to do when you live on a farm, was her defense.
Why, it was being too aggressive or?
Being too aggressive. But I don't think it was more than a year old. I don't know. Give it up to someone else? I'm sure she's got a good reason, but it doesn't really look good to shoot puppies.
No, it's definitely not.
Again, her other defense was like, well, I take other animals to that gravel pit and shoot them there too. But it's like, okay. She also recently had a what is it called when you aren't properly treating the trigger finger right? She had a picture where she had like her gun was pointed directly at someone's head.
Yeah.
Accidentally. But
Gun
again,
safety.
She's in charge of national security, so you feel like it's a low blow. But
yeah.
What was the other one?
Well, they were saying, we got her purse stolen from a restaurant, so how could she be in charge of securing the country? Okay, all right.
She got her purse stolen because she's an asshole. I'm pretty sure. I mean, anyone can get her purse stolen, but I think
I don't think she was targeted.
Oh, you don't think so?
No, right. It was just a con man in the restaurant looking for something.
Could be. That could be.
It was probably like an expensive Prada Louis Vuitton purse.
I will add
this lady has a lot of money, and she did. She had several $1,000s just sitting in there. So,
and as someone who is a purse collector, I can understand. I have dozens.
Gucci,
Yeah. I have many designer
This
Coach
person has money.
purses and Michael Kors and what is the other one? I like getting Kate Spades. Good times. I have a Star Wars purse, Coach purse I just recently got. Yeah, good times. What were we talking about? Yes. As well as what was the other one I wanted to say? Christy Gnome. Who was the other guy? Oh, Pete Hegseth. Drunk Seth is the other funny guy when they talk about merit because he's never led really large organizations before.
Yeah, he was a mid-tier. He was a major battalion commander, which isn't
not knocking him. And once again, I'll make the
not
same.
A general.
Yes. Thank you for your service. I want to do a whole bit on thank you for your service because there's no one that I've noticed that hates thank you for your service more than veterans. I've learned that slowly because and it's fine. People mean well. But veterans, I think, and again, I as an epileptic tranny, I've never served a day in my life, but I think veterans would prefer healthcare or decent healthcare and being attended to, making sure that there are mental health needs are taken care of, making sure they're able to get decent wages and jobs and stuff. But yes, thank you for your service.
It just seems patronizing,
I am tired of the virtue
it's like virtue signaling. Yeah, it seems virtue signaling on part of the person doing it.
And let me tell you,
I'm a good person because I'm thanking a veteran for their service. Aren't I nice?
Yes. And I get it. We want to do something. We can't do anything as lay people out in the street. I mean, there's not much else we can do. But there is things that we can do voting, especially voting for people and policies, and that is to support veterans then and there because that's when they actually need it. By the way, veterans, one of the beneficiaries of DEI. I know it's often they try and make it sound like it's just a race-based thing, but the disabled and veterans were also two heavily looked for groups. Again, when you hire someone who is DEI, they have to be qualified for the position. That has to go without saying. No one ever thought otherwise. It was that they looked around in a sea of not just the type of, the racist, the type of institutionalized, but it is all rich white men. Not even poor white men can get in there, okay? So they're all from Ivy League schools. They're all from these types of, a lot of these different industries. Even the comedy circuit had a Harvard, and I'm sending love to Harvard, who is standing up for themselves. For once, again, someone found a fucking spine on aisle 9. All right. Thank you so much, Ian Davenport. We send so much love. James, I can't help it. I know we've been talking politics.
Go ahead.
But we are actually ranting. It's not technically. It's midnight somewhere. On Cardinals draft a new pope. But yes, I'm gonna hand it over to you, James. Sending love to everyone out there for a second. What are your thoughts, as they were doing the smoke-a-thon, as this was happening? I did like Francis, like you were saying. Excuse me. I like a more liberal pope because we don't have any choice. We're not Catholics. It's not really our shtick. But I guess if you're going to put a leader out in the world, I'd rather someone that says don't burn the gays as opposed to the opposite. What are your thoughts? They're drafting a new pope.
Well, so Francis, he actually wasn't really chosen because he was a liberal. He was more chosen because he was an outsider from the Roman Curia, being from Argentina, Buenos Aires, the archbishop down there. He was somebody that was an outsider. He wasn't seen in the regular Vatican circles, and that was seen as important at the time because things had broken down at the Vatican. Cardinal Ratzinger, Benedict XVI. He was elderly. He was elderly when he became pope. Even by papal standards, he was in his mid 80s, 86, I think, when he became Pope, he just didn't have it mentally or cognitively to be able to run that organization the way it needed to be run. So there was lots of dysfunction going on in the Roman Curia, which led to things like the scandal that we all know that they were involved in, which is kind of funny because throughout most of that time, the man at the helm was Wojtyła, John Paul II, but the media had already, he was a very charismatic, likable figure. The media already deified him as a saintly figure. And by the time everything broke, he was visibly very, very on death's doorstep. They couldn't really blame him for it because they already kind of deified him. So we went to his successor, who was a very slightly more conservative version of him. John Paul II was not very liberal. He was maybe center-right in terms of Catholic politics, doctrine. But you have an organization that is rebranded itself as a quasi social justice academic institution. It's a far cry from what it was, where, just 250 years ago, they were, if you said, got up in church and said, I don't think that the Eucharist becomes the body of Jesus. I don't believe that actually happens. They go, are you sure you don't believe that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen. Well, okay. I'll turn you over to the secular authorities, and they're going to execute you if you still don't believe that. You want to change your mind? No, I mean, I could lie, but I really just don't believe. Okay, you're going to be executed. And now they've rebranded themselves as an organization where they take a moral high ground and say, oh, executing mass murderers is evil. You can never execute anybody. But this is an organization that maintains it's infallible and can't err, so you can trust its judgments. But it really just wavers in the wind like everything else. There is no perfect organization. There's only organizations of people. They're imperfect. They're susceptible to the ideas and values and social happenings of their day, which they exist. Catholic Church is no different. It evolves over time to stay relevant. It has to, otherwise it would have gone extinct. There's lots of religions throughout human history that have gone extinct. They were widely believed, widely practiced. Now nobody really believes them anymore. And it's evolve or die. You have to adapt. You have to change with when the environment changes. If a biological organism can't do that, they go extinct. There's no magical mechanism that keeps them. They just die. They go extinct. And that's one thing that lets you know this is a human organization. This is not something that boldly stands for absolute truth and defends it against all reproach. This is something that is strategic. It makes decisions consistent with its own survival and propagation. It's a man-made institution like all religions are. And I suspect, as I said before, probably maybe 30-40% of the Cardinals probably think that way also. They probably aren't really sure that this God exists, but they see utility in the church. They see positive aspects of it that make it worth keeping around. Or this is just what they went to school for. This is their job. What else am I going to do if I come out and say, I don't think the God is real anymore? So they just go through the motions. And I think that's why they're becoming a lot more liberal in things like matters of doctrine. Like, there's no God, there's no hell, there's no judgment. Well, there's no reason to be a dick. There's no reason to be overly imposing, and there's no reason to be condemnatory. Just serve as the opiate, serve as a mechanism where people can pretend they don't have to die. There's no reason to be overly argumentative at that point. Like J.D. Vance, our vice president, converted to Catholicism a couple of years ago. He said he found it rich with tradition. I mean, I think probably because it has a lot to do with the fact that his wife is a practicing Hindu. And you go 9 out of 10 Protestant churches will say, oh, well, she actually needs to become a Christian or she will be condemned automatically. Whereas the Catholic Church, well, not necessarily. She doesn't really have to, become a Christian. She could be saved by God's mercy through other means. So that's just a more palatable approach. That's a more humane approach to things that they adopt, and they do it with a professorally type approach. Professorly approach, they do it. It sounds like it makes sense. It sounds like they have good reasoning for it. And they may in their own mind, but it represents a bold departure from what they've done in the past, from what they've executed people for in the past, deviating from their points of doctrine, from their beliefs, from their dogmatically held points of faith that they say you have to believe or else. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that it has certain dogmas. We talked about some of the weird things that they do with the body of Christ and, needing to have one more layer of leader. And yet they also believe are closer to accepting science. They have this kind of, I want to say dual lives, but that seems to be what it is. One side of their brain is able to accept that a man came back from the dead, and then the other is able to do physics. And so,
well, the thing about that, what I think makes them more apt to that is that the Catholic Church, they predate the modern Bible. They made it. They made the canon. They selected the books. They excluded others. So they don't necessarily view themselves as under it because it's something they created. So they have the license to kind of reinterpret and contextualize and say, well, that's metaphorical. It doesn't have to be literal. Whereas the Protestant branches see it as fundamental, that like they don't have the authority to do that. They just have to blindly submit to it.
You can also see just how you can see the remnants of the Canaanite religion in Judaism. You can see some of the pagan values or undertakings that they took in order to get acceptance. So, for example,
right.
Christmas, really this whole cutting down a tree and celebrating like this is over a pagan ritual, same sort of, I'm trying to remember what it's called in the winter, because we have a solstice in the summer,
Equinox.
And the equinox. And then that becomes kind of Jesus's birthday and Jesus's resurrection. And you have these saints that end up being used in the same way that,
similar to a pantheon.
To a pantheon. And so, I have one of my stepmom's mom was always saying, you lose something, you just got to pray to St. Anthony. So they got a saint for everyone, a saint for everything. And what's up, man, Cyborg?
The Protestants, they see that as idolatry. They see that as inconsistent with Christianity. And you can follow the Protestant Catholic debate, and you'll just you'll be running on a hamster wheel. You'll never actually get anywhere because it's all nonsense. Neither side is right. Neither side is wrong. It's just the whole thing is just blah.
Exactly, Sinister. Way to say we're polytheists while keeping all the trappings. I think that's what Judaism, honestly, it came from, a polytheistic worldview that just accepted one God. They became the Yahwehists.
The Yahwehists took over.
Also, sending love out there. All right, if you would like, we are going to open it up for the open mic. The link is in chat and on screen. Feel free to come on and say what you think about the new Pope or any subject we've been talking about. You want to talk about religion, please, by all means, defend your God. That's what we're also hoping for. But if not, James and myself will just keep on ranting for another 30 minutes now or something, and we'll tell you how much their gods don't exist and how much the Pope's hat is silly, and I'll keep on saying I'm glad he's a liberal. But it's both of those things.
The Pope's hat is silly, but it used to be even sillier. You know, they
used to be bigger?
Yeah, they used to have what they call the papal tiara. It was a crown, like a kingly crown, and they when did they get rid of the tiara? That was in like the early 20th century.
As if
they As if they still have them in the Vatican archives or in the museum there. They were divas, like toddlers and tiaras. But
come on, as if you couldn't make them gayer, okay? And listen, I'm half gay, sending love, sending a suck out to every gay person out there. But like, how their outfits, their uniforms are very fabulous. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Well, they made a big deal in what it was like 2009, 9 when Ratzinger, Pope Benedict, when he broke out the famous red shoes, the papal red shoes that hadn't been worn in like 150 years, and he started wearing them again, and you know that was kind of a nod to the traditionalists who wanted it more traditional.
See, what's fantastic about that is that's religious fashion news.
Like, look at those red shoes. Look at the Pope. He's got those red shoes on. He's looking stylish.
Looking very stylish, just like BV. What is up? Good morning and lovely coffee to everyone. Unless you're around the world, then I hope you're having a good dinner or a snack. Or even lunch or brunch. I think I've covered them all.
Rebel is still cooking that steak.
I know. Woo, he was hot, too, in that image. He was ripped. James, I would have been able to take both steaks in that image.
Eat up. Medium rare.
Indeed.
Don't overcook it.
That's how Rachel likes her steak. She's medium rare. I am medium, and I would say that's quite a recovery.
That's fine.
Exactly, right?
All right.
That's my parents.
A little overdone.
So I can tell you're medium rare, but my parents raised me on well done steaks. Okay, well done. Okay, so the fact that I'm at a medium, I feel like I've come a long.
That is a long way.
Apologists, Dawaists, and spokesmen, middlemen for God. It's always been a very weird concept to me. I don't know, James. I don't know why. And they always come up with excuses, like I said, like the teacher one. But it just seems odd that God can't come down here anymore.
And you know, the thing
it's
is,
all
like,
past stuff.
None of them will say that their prophets are perfect people, or they'll say, yeah, they're flawed, they're humans, they're like us, but
except for Jesus, but yeah.
Well, they don't consider him a prophet. That's why he's
God, exactly. Yeah, that's like a double loophole. He's a prophet and God. They're double fisting there.
He has two natures, is what they'd say. He's fully man and fully God.
Not
half man, half God. He's fully man while being fully God.
That point, though, I take them to task for the gender thing, because they want to obsess over gender so much. And then I say, okay, well, why is God a man or a he? No XY. And I get lots of excuses.
Too hard. You're making him think
I know.
Hard.
And I get, that's just his nature. So he just automatically gets to be a he. I get the language excuse. Well, it's just naturally written. And here's the thing with the language excuse. The language excuse is almost paired with in my opinion, as an armchair psychologist, just like light misogyny. They're always like, well, you have to understand that men are leaders, and so it makes sense that we would write God as a he. And you're like, I'm pretty sure women can be leaders too. I'm pretty sure you can write it.
He created Adam first, and Eve was like an afterthought. So Eve was just a modified version with
unless you believe in Lilith.
With
yes,
with a convenient place for Adam to put his pee-pee when he started thinking naughty thoughts. But that was an afterthought. That wasn't like, wasn't
exactly
necessarily fundamental. Whereas
and they use that story to blame women anyway. So,
of course,
and that's why snakes don't have legs. But then that gets retconned. And snakes still don't have legs, but he's also Satan.
He possessed the snake, yeah.
Possessed the snake. And yet snakes all over the earth still have to suffer. I feel like that's a dick move.
Even though they do just fine without legs, they actually would be much worse off with legs.
Well, exactly, because they evolved.
Entire body up on 4 legs. I mean, that'd be absurd.
Exactly. The way they're able to also hunt prey and things like that. They need their specific movements and the way they hold themselves. And so, they don't need legs.
That's just like our thinking, like, we like legs. Legs are good. So look at those snakes. They don't have legs. Why don't they have legs?
And that's my thing with consciousness. Not to harp on it. I won't talk about it long. But it's the same thing. We have it, so it's the most amazing thing. Everything should have it.
Yeah,
the whole universe.
Them having legs and crawling and slithering in the dust is not a punishment. It's not something that makes life harder for them. It's how they live. It's how they are meant to be.
Some snakes are pretty quick.
They do just fine. They exist on virtually every continent, except Antarctica, but.
And they're oftentimes apex predators. They'll be okay, at least in their size category. What's funny? You know who doesn't have any natural predators? And it took me a while to think about this, so I had to have someone point this out. A random, I'll give you even a hint. It's a very fluffy animal. But
it's not an apex predator, but it has no predators itself.
They're hunters, but they're not apex predators. And I'll give you the second hint, and you'll know it instantly. They could be a very smelly animal. It's a skunk.
Skunk?
A skunk.
Okay.
A skunk has no apex predators, or has no natural born predators.
There's nothing that really hunts them?
Yes, and I'll tell you, you want to know why?
I did not know.
Because predators, if you get hit by a skunk, will only be able to eat that skunk. And then, for a good long while, they will not be able to hunt.
Several weeks.
Because for several weeks,
to wear off.
They will not be able to get food. And so they learn early on not to hunt skunks because not that they can't handle the skunk, but it's actually counterintuitive, and they will go hungry. They will starve.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so you'll watch lots of videos. Skunks will just walk up to people. And people will go, "What the hell? Why are skunks not afraid of me?" Because everyone in nature is afraid of a skunk, especially if you're a predator.
That's the thing. Lots of animals have like defense mechanisms, like they're toxic to certain animals, but then there's animals that have mutations that make them immune to those toxins, so they can eat those animals. But the smell is a smell.
Well,
it's going out.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
What you just said, not to just do an analogy but it reminds me of cybersecurity. You take all these cybersecurity classes, and you basically learn hackers do things. You learn how to counter those hacks, often by learning out how to do the hack themselves and then making a fix for it. And then they try to find new loopholes and make new hacks.
Never-ending.
And as you're it's just
It's an arms race. Well, I mean, that's how they do. Like the companies, they'll pay professional hackers to try to get into our system, and then when you do, tell us how you did it.
Yep. Hackers oftentimes make the best cybersecurity experts. You got to make someone who's a black hat or a gray hat go gray hat or white hat. It can be done. I'm mostly a gray or a white hat now. I used to download a lot of illegal things. I really don't care that much about the law. It is a thing. I care way more about doing what's right. I don't lie, cheat, or steal. Don't hurt others. But, when the law sometimes matches up with doing the right thing, that's when I'm all for it. That's why I'm chaotic good. I'm playing D&D with both with Rachel and my femboy. We're playing Baldur's Gate. But it's been fun. We're dragging Rachel along, basically, but it's been fun.
Why? She's not a experienced player?
It's not that. It's that my femboy is a goody two-shoes. She is lawful good, and I am chaotic good, and she is chaotic neutral.
Oh, okay.
And we would be in a lot more fights if it were up to her. Good times. I'm basically playing a paladin, a chaotic paladin, doing my best, because they're normally always lawful good. But, laws are made to get in your way sometimes. What are we talking about? The weed is legal now. I'll tell you the other thing, James, not to get too political, but I was making jokes when we were talking about the companies being on our side or being on LGBTQ and all this. I was getting to a point where I felt like a bootlicker. I was getting to the point where, all these companies, the whole Western world, and most of the Western world actually is on our side. They just sent memos over to, such and such country, and they were like, hey, you need to stop doing DEI. And they were like, no, go. I think it was France, England, bunch of other Western countries. But the pendulum will swing back eventually when it becomes, when the Siths are not in control and it's back to the Republic. I'm sure they will all come groveling back to the LGBTQ and women and blacks and other minorities, and they, will pretend like they're on our side again so that we can buy more of their products. But, that is the way that I think the pendulum is majority going to swing, because I think the other way is more tied with religion. I really do. I'll continue to say that. There's no real reason. James, do you feel threatened as a straight man that transgenders...
I mean, it'd be nice if we could get away from a constant pendulum of identity politics swinging from one direction to the other, but it seems inescapable.
But can I tell you, I could not agree with you more.
Oh, I know.
And I know they will point at me and they'll say, I am the reason that I'm keeping it in politics. And I know they don't mean me, is because, we're nobody, but whatever. But like, it's not the transgenders. The last thing we fought for was transgenders in the military, and that recently just got her. So I swear, the reason that they throw the football, and it's not the lay conservatives, it's these frigging techno bros, as well as a few other leaders like the Heritage Foundation, who know that it's emotional issues and they just want to go, sports and locker rooms and bathrooms and all this, when we never created any of those issues. Those are all reactions. And maybe there are some conversations. The sports one is always, I got to have now a delicate, intricate conversation. But please just let me pee in peace. I'm pretty sure that's pretty fine. And no one wants to be in a locker room. That is an awkward experience. I don't know, oh my God. I don't understand how we can, as adults, just figure these things out. And there's a reason certain people don't want to be have solutions. The solution is to wipe us out. Culturally, I'm not saying they're stabbing us yet. I'm just saying culturally.
I mean, it's actually it's a tool that both sides have used to their advantage.
Sure. I want to put a caveat in there.
Go ahead.
Because there was a time where I would say liberals were more heavily focused on identity politics. But what I'll say to that, my defense of that is I'll say there was good reason for that. Is gays really weren't allowed to marry.
Sure.
There really were issues that needed to be addressed because they went out of their way. It's not like we just randomly went over that. They at one point had to say, no, we really don't want them to get married. And no, we really don't want them to be in the military.
Well,
and so
I'll give an example, but finish your point.
Well, no, and so I agree with you. But once we got those things, I could feel the pressure being alleviated off. The LGBTQ, the biggest thing that we do now is the parades. That's the month,
pretty much.
The June month. And so, like, if they want us to stop talking about it and being obsessed about it, which I don't think we are anymore. I think that is. I don't think we ever were obsessed, but we were more focused. Then just let us live our lives. Literally, do the libertarian. Live and let live, and we will be able to continue onwards. And we then will focus. I'll give another hint to both the liberals who want to know what to push for. Well, then what should we be talking about? We should be talking about healthcare, because that really we should be getting private. I understand. I don't know if we should make it illegal, but you need to give everyone a public option. You need to at least make sure it can't be the ER, because the ER just passes it on to really the public at an even worse cost. We need prison reform. We are making criminal factories. It is basically a college for crime. And maybe we should tweak that into how to become better humans, how to reintegrate into society so that you don't get set back there. You do that by maybe giving them another option, maybe teaching them another skill that, again, could be relevant. And you talk about working class issues, trying to find jobs that aren't going to be in an economy that's about to be replacing half of them with robots. I know, and I feel bad. We're so off topic. What is up, End Time Teacher? Welcome. We are supposed to be talking about the Cardinals drafting a new pope. That's not the baseball team, as I would like it to be. That would also be funny. But
why that stuff never happens is because why we never get there is because the entrenched interests on both sides don't want it to be. So the example is like early in 2020, early in the primaries, Elizabeth Warren, she was talking about working class issues, but as it got closer to the thing, there's that pivot. She says, "Hi, I'm Elizabeth Warren, and my pronouns are she and her." And it's like, but you were just talking about working class. Well, yeah, but now my pronouns are she and her. And it's like, okay.
But I really don't. And there was a time.
It's nothing wrong with that per se, but it's the issue of your focus. It's, well, I don't want to say anything that's going to affect the wealthy corporations because pronouns are free to them. It doesn't really matter to them. They don't care. But working class issues actually might make them upset.
Let me separate that, because I don't think there's anything wrong with saying your pronouns. I never did that stuff because to me, my pronouns are actually one of my least important. Like, it's important to me. It's central to my identity. I like the things that I like, but it's not on my mind enough to tell other people. It's not that relevant. But if people do say it, that's fine. You want to show you're an ally or whatever. It just needs to come with everything that you said after. You can say, "Hi, I'm Elizabeth Warren. My pronouns are she, her," what I'm going to do for the working class is that we are going to defend unions in a way that ensures that you keep your benefits and get a higher wage. They need to learn how to talk to both sides without punching down. You don't have to abandon.
It's not about talking, though. If they don't want to do those things that help the working class, they have no intent on doing them. So why make promises that you can't keep? You just pivot to something else.
I think there are some. They just need to find the politicians that want to do it. I think Bernie Sanders is one. I think AOC is actually one defense of AOC. They always say, oh, the bartender. But she does have bachelor's degrees in economics and international relations. So, yes, she was a bartender. Weren't we all? Didn't we all have jobs like that at one point in our lives? I don't understand why that's supposed to be a knock. If anything, I kind of criticize our president because I don't think he's ever worked a real job. He's had jobs that are adjacent to real jobs. Whatever.
I mean, he worked at McDonald's.
I know. See, and he said so that that's supposed to that he did that because he's trying to trigger other people. But I think he dressed up as the McDonald's person because it triggers him that Kamala worked at McDonald's. I think that's his favorite food, and that hit too close to home. But then I think he liked going in there and dressing up. They all do. They all dress up. They've seen montages.
Work for an hour.
Lady. Yes, doing the work for an hour. Listen, I'll continue. I agree with you to some extent. Both sides do all of these stupid things. Sometimes they talk about too much about the wrong thing. I even say I have conservative principles sometimes. I think what I used to view as conservative principles and I use as mine is family. I think family. I don't like that sometimes it's I care about my family and not your family. I think, I'm not going to sometimes those are disgenuine people, but I'm sure that happens on both sides. But I'm pro-family, and I like that I want people to create units. I think that we should create communities, and it's every Disney movie in the world. It's every Star Wars. It is every. We're trying to find, even if it's found family, ones that are not, blood or marriage, but they aren't. All right. And I will say, we'll probably go for another.
Are we open?
We've been open up. Yep, okay. Link's been out and pinned. It's out there. I can't pin because remember, I need to. But yes, we've been open 26. I'll send it out again. But we've been talking about it, even though the politics is wrapping us up. I'll tell you, can I criticize him for this? Just to go right back into the ring, we wouldn't be talking about politics so much if it wasn't for him. This is all his. He wants this kind of attention. He does all of these crazy things. Talks about taking Canada and Greenland. That's never going to happen. It only insults the other countries. I think. You say that. It's like that when you say it's trolling, to me, that is like the debate Christians have between whether it's metaphorical or literal. Because who is he trolling, or is he completely serious and he's this close to invading or trying to buy and about to spend $2 trillion so that he can get a country that was named green because he was purposely trying to people to get the white barren land, and it worked. Hundreds of years later, his trick is still working. That's okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Flames behind me. It's okay.
Everything's fine.
I'm sorry, folks, that this has been so political, and I want religion truly is, I would say, my shtick. Oh, speaking of which, new MDD debate. Coming up.
When is it?
Next Saturday, I believe. We might be having an after show. The subject is political. Though I know how most of my political debates go, which is I'm a liberal, but I tend to compromise with everyone, and it's very hard for me to not make jokes.
Who are you debating against?
Let's find out. Hopefully, James, other James, you would have allowed me to give permission. I think he wouldn't have cared. We'll find out. Savani and Glock.
Never died.
And I'm with Dr. Chris Thompson, but it's going to be our trans men. I guess all debates are tentative till they actually happen, but that's honored for James.
Which is interesting because they usually don't care about trans men. It's trans women they really care about.
Yeah. Oh no, that's all they care about. I will defend trans men as much as trans women.
It doesn't offend them the same way.
Yes, it doesn't. I don't think. Can I be completely cynical in what I view as honest?
Yeah,
I don't think they're as useful as a tool to the right. I think that they go after trans women because it's part of their please someone save the women and children.
Right.
And that's why they go after trans women. I really do. I think if it wasn't for them, I think we'd stop talking about trans issues. Like it would have been over.
Well, it makes them uncomfortable a little bit. The fact that maybe they find some of them attractive in a way and forces them to consider their sexuality, and they just don't want to see it. They don't want to be confronted with those kinds of thoughts.
All kinds of issues. But all right, but let's in our last 15 minutes or whatever, let's go, because we have been ranting themed at midnight somewhere on the Cardinals drafting a new pope. Any final thoughts, James? I think part of the reason why we're ranting politics too is he's such a brand new pope. He hasn't done anything. There's not that much to comment on. He was new. I think you were talking about this beforehand too, but he's only been the Cardinal for 2 years. I'm happy that he's a liberal, though this is like watching. I have as much at stake in the Cardinals picking a new pope as I do in any sports ball player picking a new person.
Well, the thing, one thing about him is he's young for a pope. He's 69, and so his papacy will probably be longer than we've had in a considerable
20,
while.
30, 40 years in him.
Yeah. What type of figure he's going? He doesn't really see. He seems like a moderate. That's why he's chosen. He's not anybody's first choice, but nobody really has any hard objections to him.
Well, and I'm hoping he is a moderate to reformer, which is kind of what Francis. For all we called him a reformer, like you said, it's not like he let in a whole bunch of women cardinals, and so my best hope is that he is somewhere between something like that, and he was selected, I think, by Francis. I think Francis was able to select a bunch of Cardinals, and that means hopefully they are a more liberal selection to pick from.
He will probably not be as bold reformist as Francis, but on the other side, he's not going to immediately undo all of Francis's modifications. He's going to keep the bow steady pretty much. He's going to not rock the boat very much. I think that's why, he was a compromise candidate. They came so quick, real quick. It seems like the fourth ballot seems like both sides, the different factions quickly figured out their guys are not viable. Okay, who's
quoted him
acceptable
as the least American, which is a very awkward quote.
Right.
But, I think that's just because the liberal people like to show that they are an ally, and they do that in a wide variety of ways. I think one of that was speaking the so many different languages. And, he did criticize both Trump and Vance in tweets. And so at least he has not kissed that ring. I'm sure he'll be nice, because that's really what all these religious leaders end up doing, which I guess is a step above. Oh my goodness! I guess
diplomacy, not really.
Yes. And yeah, there's not much more else to say, because, like just saying a moment ago, this is so new. It happened as fast, and hopefully he won't be someone who says, all right, everyone, let's burn the gays. But I don't, the signs are good that he won't be like that.
That would, the church, they would have to walk back hundreds of years to go to a time like that. That's not really on the table.
But all right, I think that we may have hit everything. We're hitting the 2-hour mark. I want to thank everyone for hanging out with us.
Thanks, everybody, guys.
I do see BV, End Time, Command Cyborg, Sinister, Moonshoes. I see a bot on Twitch. You can go screw yourself. You shouldn't buy viewers. Ken Hoven learned that lesson. Guitar Dog, DJ Megan, God Eagle Square Root of One, davegar, Scott Duke.
Sure. That's interesting, though, how this will play out in end time circles. How every time there's a new pope, they always say, "Oh, there's some prophecy. This is the last pope." They did it for Francis. They did it for Benedict. They did it for John Paul.
I'm sure there will be guys that call me Antichrist.
This is the last pope. There's only room for one picture after the last one, and that's it.
Yeah. And yet time will continue onward.
Catholic mystics and
all of the people who say
their predictions.
Yes, who say the world's about to end on insert year. We'll take that billboard down, and then next year they'll have a billboard with a different year. And they won't need to say sorry for any of it, because there's no one that's going to hold them accountable.
Not even a new billboard, just the numbers are like...
I know, just rip the number off.
So, yeah, rip the number off and put another number there, yeah.
But all right, I think we are going to wrap it up. I do apologize, y'all. This was supposed to be a midnight ranting at midnight, and my body was tired. I got to get used to it again. Summer is upcoming, so there'll be more midnight rantings at midnight. And I'm so good. One of my aides made a there's like a space that each teacher gets outside of the classroom, that you have retail space to decorate, if that makes sense, like a billboard, and you can hang up your students' work. You can hang up, you can make a different design. My aides tend to love doing that stuff. I'm not good with hand dexterity, so I just let them do it. And she made this thing that said, "We are roaring out into third grade," because they're second graders. And it has a countdown that she changes every day, and she puts a new number there. And all of the teachers are happy. They're like, "Thank you for putting it." It says 27.
End of school countdown, yeah.
End of school countdown, yes. I know they don't watch this show, but sending love to all of my aides and the entire, I don't even know if I should say the name of the school, but sending love out to them. And yes, it is an honor to teach there. It has been truly, because I think I underestimated my kids last year through half of it. The second half of my year, I had all my preconceived misconceptions blown away, and I truly understood, I think, what was going on. But I did have, you do have to, especially if they don't fully speak, you ask yourself, do they really understand what's going on? Is the lesson plan being absorbed? But you learn ways, especially from going from like cool aunt mode to tough mom mode. And then you realize they know exactly what you're talking about. They're just slick. And many of them are geniuses. Not all of them. It's not everyone's Rain Man. Not everyone is, the janitor eating apples.
Autism, right? How are we going to get rid of autism?
Oh my goodness. That could not be more offensive. The problem is it's half of what they said. This is the same with the Trump admin, with everything they say. It's so entertaining because of how offensive it is, and it's so offensive because of how stupid it is. And like that is the pipeline. Oh my god. Okay. Listen, can I just say something? But can I tell you?
No,
it's
you're
for
right.
Good reason.
You're right.
Because these people, he's leading something, and they don't need to be cured. My kids have, an issue here or there. They're all butterflies. They're all in the spectrum. Each one has a different shtick that they have to, just like all of us in life have to get over. And yet, they're perfectly fine. I'm training them for college. There are people that I'm pretty sure, I would put them up against any one of the Gen Ed kids. I have a few on my roster that I, hands down, know would beat in standardized testing or anything that you put in front of them. A spelling bee, a test, a computer test, a handwritten test. It doesn't matter what I give in front of them. They ace every one. And so, yeah, I'm very passionate about that. I guess.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you so much, Ian. He's sending a $10 super sticker that says it's a pair going. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ian.
Pair.
A very zen pair. Not like the Hindu gentleman I was debating, who ended up just acting like all the other. That was the craziest thing, I think, is that he ended up using the same type of arguments. He started by basically saying, don't treat me like the Christian, the Muslim, the blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, well, some things are metaphorical and some are literal. And it's like, I've never heard that argument before. Okay, this is completely new. I'm glad we got
Well, I mean, have you read the Vedas? Do you know what they all say? And
I know. Exactly. He was this close to saying
yeah.
language. The same shtick. It's that because what else are you gonna do? They don't come down. None of these gods come down to talk with us. So
it's like, but look, our religious system is like much more complicated than theirs, and we don't even fully understand it. It's got all these moving parts, and
it's older. Religion's the only type of system that does this, where older is better. I guess there's a few other things in life where they do that. I guess wine, but I view science to prefer new. A lot of classes, when you're an undergrad and graduate, they'll say, unless you have a specific reason to go further back, please give me sources in the past 5 years, something like that. There's always going to be, if you're doing papers on Charles Darwin, you're going to be quoting a book from hundreds of years ago. But
if it's not an area of new research, if
we
it's an area
prefer
thoroughly stamped
exactly. But we prefer newer research over older, and religion is the only one where they give credence to older over newer. Internet.
Well, if you were going to take sources about the life of Jesus, wouldn't you want older sources, the ones who actually lived with him, versus newer sources who don't know?
But they didn't live with him. That's the other thing. Maybe the anonymous apostles that we will never know their names, people like Paul, never lived with him. And 50 years. Oh, excuse me. Sponsored by coffee. All these burps. 50 years is quite a lot. Oh, thank you so much. A double thank you. Oh my goodness. Well, now I got to do a dance.
You're the best, Ian.
You are such the best. Yeah.
Well, there's nothing for you to get upset about. Canadian elections went your way, so there you go.
Oh no! Can I tell you, James? Yeah. I think this is what's going to happen now. I think the Trump effect is. I think he's going to get liberals elected everywhere.
Yeah.
I honestly.
There you go.
And I'll say this last thing about politics, okay? Because I was right. I was wrong about one thing and wrong about everything else. Does that make sense? I knew he can get elected. That was the only reason I voted. I used to, because of a very specific George Carlin bit, and probably because just of my contrarianness, I didn't think I should vote ever. I didn't think I was like, well, it doesn't matter, two-party system, blah, 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 blah. And then I got scared enough into voting for the first time in my adult life. And so I knew he had a chance at winning all 3 times. That's why I voted. And yet I thought sanity, because of having him in once, was going to prevail. But now I think because the guardrails have come off and so much crazy, like what level, how many planes have to like have accidents and land upside down and go, Newark is like going black. So many, the second time they just had a loss of anyway. And all of these things you could say, well, it's not him specifically. And you go, no, I know it's not him specifically, but he put people who play these roles on TV. These are not actual experts. They are people that if you wanted to make a movie about it, you could. Okay, I'm done. I could do this forever. Okay. Popes.
Is that Moonlight back there?
That is.
Hi, Moonlight.
Oh. I'm trying
That's your baby.
Yes.
That's your baby, Moonlight.
He's trying to eat and escape, but he can't escape my love.
Aw. Hi, Moonlight.
La, 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 la. Mm-hmm. Oh. You want to sit? You ready to go? Okay, he may sit. Okie dokie. Sending so much love again to Ian Davenport and all of the Skeptic Ranting community. And all right, James, I keep on asking this, but any final? I think we've poked us out.
We're ready to
run
out the door.
We have, in fact, been midnight ranting. Trying to figure out how to word it. That almost sounded good.
Say happy Mother's Day to your mother in America.
Happy Mother's Day. Yes. I had all my kids make Mother's Day cards. They could pick one of 3 cards, and then we had markers and stuff, and I modeled for them how to write inside a card.
You'll never be a mother.
You'll never be a mother.
You'll never pass a baby out of a vagina.
I already have him. I already have a baby. That's okay. Right there. Yeah. All the stuff they attack me for is stuff I never care about. Because after you transition and you get comfortable in your body, I don't want to be a bio girl. I don't want to be anything else.
You're fine the way you are.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine.
There's other things that are more interesting. I'd rather focus on, roller skating, karaoke, comedy.
Don't focus on things that you can never, that are impossible or that are never,
Yeah. Or the whole journey is just so you're supposed to be comfortable. And you have to think, how do you want to look on the outside? Is it matching on the inside? And if you can get that as congruent as possible, that's fantastic. I can tell you that's probably the same way for biological. Let's be honest, for biological men and women. We all have this fantasy. Men want to be, and I'm being stereotypical, but I'm sure a lot of guys look at themselves in the head and say, I want to look like the action hero. And a lot of girls, want to look like the supermodel, or vice versa, or whatever. But trying to have your mind match your body is a journey, and I think it applies for transgender and biological people. I think, and so we should be sympathetic to each other and try to understand that journey, because ultimately you eventually get to a point where you realize, I also have one last thing I'll talk about, because I care about my aesthetics and being pretty and all this stuff. But I also have on the back of my mind that that's also, you know, a very, what's the word I'm trying to use here, James? Superficial?
Vain, superficial.
Yeah, there are also other things that are way more important. So
Right.
I spent very hard to look the way that I do, and I'm very happy that I get to have this and I get to have all my many different purses that make me feel happy. But I like that we do this just as much, and it takes a different part of the brain. And I think that, that should be valued in this society. I wish it was valued more in this society. All right. Sending so much love. Pope, 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 pope. We have been Midnight Ranting on this episode of Cardinals Draft a New Pope, where, yes, indeedy, we were talking about the Catholic Cardinals having their multiple rounds of black to white smoke to draft a new pope for a popeful good time. I do want to thank my co-host, James W., with all of the lovely people in chat, as well as all of our awesome mods and misfits that make this stream so great, and lovely viewers like you who make this channel even possible. I do want to send out extra special love to both the Sinister Porpoise and Ian Davenport. If you like the show, though, you just can like, follow, subscribe, because then you gain access to that bell icon so that when you hit all, you can join our premieres or see our live streams, or hey, why not leave a comment once the video's done? The person that I make fun of for doing this, they probably became out now. I hope they're a very happy lady. Is it too much to think about it? But it's true, right?
Yeah. You never know.
50-50. Or just got a cute husband.
Them at a coffee shop.
Or just got a cute husband.
Maybe.
I'm just saying. Either of those two. Oh, anyway. Thanks to all the people who left super thanks. Super chats. You can also check out the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server. We need an admin or someone. We have Titan who makes sure that no one says anything naughty, and he will continue to have that position and run that position. But I would like someone who's just into Discord stuff, as in like making sure people setting up rank. I need people to set up rankings so that you can select it. I would like to make it its own politics and religion. Not it doesn't have to be the politics part, but I mean they have certain systems that enable people to be more active. And if you are into that sort of thing, please contact me. Emails there and
comedy
at gmail.com. Yes. And yes. Or I guess hit me up in Discord as well. But either one of those two things. Also, you can join our evolving badge system, Evolution Triggers Creationists, but you can just evolve by staying a member longer. And another fantastic way to support the channel is by heading out to Patreon at patreon.com/amynewman. I almost just said patreon.com and ended right there for a second. And you can go to Patreon and support people. That's true. I am Amy Newman along with James W. We will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z, when the Pope will go Super Saiyan, I think. Probably. Don't fact check that one.